A recent Financial Times article about Amazon's plans to upgrade Alexa's brain with generative AI capabilities sparked some fascinating discussions about the future of voice commerce. I went immediately to the comments section here, which is often a goldmine of consumer sentiment, where people were saying such things as, "Ours is mainly used for setting a timer for boiled eggs." Another person said, "Turn off Alexa 3 years ago, never looked back, and saved some electricity." And finally, "So it's slow, expensive, unreliable, and makes stuff up. What's not to like?" So these sentiments reflect a broader challenge in voice AI adoption. Alexa was launched 8 years ago now, and while at the time it seemed like everything was going to change and we'd all be, ordering our groceries by talking to Alexa, Alexa turned out to be pretty average at understanding user questions, and particularly with shopping activities. In some senses, Alexa could read the label, but she couldn't tell you if it was a good product for your needs. But now with all these advances in generative AI, the landscape might be shifting, and there's a big initiative at Amazon to redesign Alexa and make her smarter. So let's examine why this time might be different and what that would mean for the retail industry. Good morning and welcome to the Retail Media Breakfast Club. I'm your host, Kiri Masters, and every weekday at 6 a.m. Eastern, I bring you candid and real discussions in the world of retail media and marketplaces in just 10 minutes. So bring your own cup of coffee and we'll get smarter about retail media together. So Amazon's reimagining Alexa as an AI agent, word of the year, powered by an in-house LLM that they've developed called Nova, which has been optimized for conversational AI. And it's also supplemented by Anthropic's Claude LLM, which Amazon actually invested in. They invested $8 billion in Claude, in Anthropic. This transformation signals a shift from simple command response interactions to exchanges that can be more nuanced and context aware and personalized. With all the advancement in generative AI today, it seems to a lot of people that Alexa's technology kind of stalled along the way. Like 8 years in, why is it not significantly better than it was when it first launched? And so I dug into, and this was credit to Jason and Scott from the Jason and Scott show, who called out a good source on this. It's actually Geekwire, which is based out of Seattle, great publication that covers a lot of Amazon news. And so between Geekwire and Financial Times article, I got to about like a good 4 reasons why Alexa sort of stalled and didn't get significantly smarter over the last 8 years. So the reasons here are that, number one, Alexa was built on an older framework. And when Amazon first created Alexa, it was quickly pieced together in what they termed as scaffolding to handle voice requests like checking the weather, playing music, or setting timers. And so the early design was intended to be good enough to launch the product, but it wasn't really built for deep, free-flowing conversations. So it was like the classic MVP model that gets, ship something that is put together with duct tape. Let's see if it hits. Let's see if people like it. And over time, it seems to have been difficult to rebuild those foundations without disrupting existing features. So that's issue number one. Issue number two is voice is apparently harder to get right compared to text-based chatbots like ChatGPT. So ChatGPT can afford to pause briefly and think as they generate answers. In contrast, Alexa is supposed to respond within seconds. So as soon as you say Alexa, she's supposed to be there. And people notice delays in a conversational voice context more so than they're willing to be a little forgiving when having a text exchange with an agent. So this makes a lot of things more complex, like the wake word detection, speech recognition, and immediate replies. All of those things are more complex than text. Issue number 3 is that users expect reliability. This is a great point, actually. So if ChatGPT makes a mistake, like stating something incorrectly, it's generally not the end of the world. And we've all been trained to identify hallucinations from ChatGPT and similar models. But the consequences are a little different with Alexa. If Alexa mishears your command to turn off the oven or unlock the door, that's a bigger deal. And so the creators of Alexa have spent more time ensuring it can be reliable in handling day-to-day tasks rather than, the more experimental chat features. And then the final issue with Alexa's brain to date has been limited conversation context. Voice queries tend to be short, one-off requests, and that's partly because of the habits we've built around giving Alexa basic commands. So we're used to bossing Alexa around and telling her what to do. And also because long-form speech in everyday life can be cumbersome. And so that means we're not usually giving Alexa the lengthy context that a chatbot uses to generate more nuanced answers. All right, so with those 4 challenges in mind, let's talk about what we know of Amazon's plans to make Alexa smarter. So the technical challenges are significant, addressing AI hallucinations, reducing latency in that speed to response, and maintaining reliability at scale. Additionally, Amazon has to face the complex task of transitioning a legacy infrastructure that's, scaffolding MVP kind of product into something entirely new to accommodate this much more complicated technical task. And so here's what I gleaned about how Amazon's thinking of Alexa's brain transplant. The first is building bigger language models. So Amazon has hinted that they're working on a new LLM for Alexa to better understand context, handle more varied questions, and even show some creativity. Number 2 is partnering with outside AI models. So I already mentioned recent reports say that Amazon is using Anthropic's Claude, which would help Alexa's conversational skills. Number 3 is layering new AI on top of existing features. And so maybe not throwing away Alexa's current approach entirely, but weaving in new generative AI capabilities. And so based on all of this, is it time for us to look again at the promise of a brave new world of voice commerce? And when Alexa launched, many people thought voice shopping would take off, particularly reordering scenarios, right? Like Alexa, order more paper towels. But in practice, within a lot of shopping environments, people want to see pictures, read reviews, compare pricing. And so that limits the sort of available shopping activities to a fairly narrow set, right? Reordering. I just remembered I need to add something to my shopping list. So consumables, subscriptions, reorders. And indeed, ultimately, I think in a best case scenario, that is where we'll land with Alexa, is these simple reordering of known products, and she will hopefully remember our brand preferences and our product preferences. So that's a scenario that could potentially occur. So the path forward here, I think this all is contingent on Amazon's ability to get the technology right and launch an Alexa product that meets our expectations as consumers around being able to have a conversation, her remembering things, a little bit more of a context window. But part of the issue is resourcing at Amazon. And is Alexa really a high enough priority for Amazon to really rebuild this in an effective way? That's the biggest barrier, I think, to this going live. We're close to the 10-minute mark already. I dove a little bit deeper in my newsletter about the bull and bear case for Alexa coming back and being a true shopping assistant. So I think the bottom line here is, while Amazon is investing heavily in transplanting Alexa's brain, we're not sure how long the surgery is really going to take. And once Alexa is recovered from her brain transplant, is she going to want to join us on these shopping trips, or is she going to prefer to stay at home and talk about the weather? Well, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Retail Media Breakfast Club. We meet here every day at 6 a.m. Eastern. So be sure to subscribe and get your daily dose of insights, trends, and hot takes in the world of retail media and marketplaces.